All right, this video has been way too long coming. I will admit that. But we finally have a little room in the shop, and we're gonna show you guys what's in the trailer. Yeah, it's been hiding out here for too long. I will fully admit that. But sometimes life gets in the way of things. And we've been super busy in the shop, and I knew we had some time to put in this, but it's middle of the day Friday, right before lunch. So we were, so Eddie and I were actually supposed to be on a plane right now. And this worked out really well that now I'm driving up with Lee to Lime Rock this weekend. So we had a half a day to get this thing out of the trailer and get it serviced and show you what exactly it is. So the logo's a little bit of a clue there, but let's get this thing out, show you what it's all about. Haha, that rhymed. All right, so this thing's been back there in the grass lot for too long, like I said. Let's see how stuck it is. Oh, not even at all. Oh, that was anticlimactic. Sorry about that. Anywho, I'll get her pulled forward and let's go open the trailer. All right, let's see what's in this trailer. Oh, the old Scion FRS.
That's one of them there slidey boys.
Slidey boys?
Yeah, it's a slidey boy.
I think this is a Scion, not a, aren't they all the, I don't even know. A Toyota Scion, BRZ. I don't know, it's all the same body style. But this thing has been hiding in the box, and it's actually for sale. This is one of the first cars that we built, like a complete car that we built here at KSR. Definitely the first drift car we built, and it's got a bunch of trick stuff in it, and we're gonna show you some of that today. But she's been hiding here in the trailer. It's been a while since Ryan's been using it, because Ryan is in the National Guard and has served all around the world, actually. So big shout out to Ryan and his wife Kim, for both of them are in the military service. So we're gonna get this thing unloaded, get it in the shop, change all the fluids, and then go for a test drive. Yeah, and that's always fun. All right, well, it's been a day of crawling in and out of, hard to get in and out of cars in trailers. First the Viper earlier today, loading it up for Lime Rock. So that video should be kind of sometime. But this thing, we did have to charge the battery. I flipped this on a minute ago. Battery was a little low. And let's see if this old beast, let's see if this old hot rod will crank. Hey. Well, that ain't bad. Guess I need a steering wheel. I don't need the fan. Let's see if it'll roll out. Whoa, stuck. All right, well, here's what she looks like all the way around. See, it's Ryan had KSR logos on it back in the day. This car actually went through a couple of different graphics packages. It's got a wrap on the whole thing now. You see it's got a little glitter in it. And as you could have heard from me running it, that was not the stock engine. So, this was a brand new 525 horse crate engine from GM. LS3 based. And then we went through it and put a cam kit in it. And this thing makes just over 500 wheel horsepower, which for a drift car is pretty sporty. Like, I'm not great at drifting by any means, any stretch of the imagination. Yeah, I can get stuff sideways and goof around, but watching Ryan sling this thing around, he actually first started drifting it with the stock engine, did some mods to it, and you know, it was pretty low power. I think they made 200-ish stock with the boxer engine in them. But this setup is a little more sporty. You can see we did stuff like electric water pump there. Nice Mazier high volume electric water pump that has a 1/4 inch of clearance right here. Big Mishimoto fan setup. Custom mount alternator deal we worked out just to make all that spacing and stuff work out for the alternator. It's got, I think these are Sicky headers. We basically used the Sicky kit, the swap kit. This thing, we probably built this thing 8-9 years ago. It's been that long? 8-9 years ago? No. 6 years ago? 7 years?
Right after Soccer Mom.
Wow, so it goes all the way back to when we first put Soccer Mom together, which has been a minute. So you can see, for those of you guys that know the drift stuff, it's got a WiseFab front suspension kit on it that's pretty freaking sweet. We slotted it all the way out to get the attachment point way out there, which we'll show you some more of that and some more of the undercar stuff when we get it up in the air here in just a second. But this thing's kind of full boogie. Full cage. It's got a Holley Dominator ECU in it. Leash Electronics wiring board. A T56 Magnum, I believe, is the transmission. It's got a cool shirt system that has a helmet blower in it as well. So Ryan had a helmet that, you know, had an air hookup on the top of it so it would blow colder air in his face. Has an AccuSump mounted back here above the fuel-safe fuel cell. That's a pretty expensive fuel cell. It's got a bladder inside of it. This battery may need to be replaced. Okay. 5 of 2016. Well, there's our time frame right there. So 7 years ago. Volvo power steering unit. Volvo? No, that says Toyota on it. I forget what this was out of, but some of you guys can tell what that's out of. But electric power steering, because there was no room in the front to put any kind of power steering pump on this engine, which we'll show you some more of that here in just a second when we get it up in the air. All right, well, I got some fluids changed, and yeah, she's got a few little leaks here and there. AN fittings, and I'm gonna get a rag and maybe we'll wipe off some of those deals. But see the swap oil pan. Had to do some trickery with the oil lines in that we used, this is the outlet to the oil filter setup, and then back in to the engine back here, which it goes through an oil, the oil goes through a thermostat. It's right there, and then it goes out to the oil cooler, which is out here. So we got a oil cooler there, power steering cooler there, all done with AN hoses. The big wild and crazy WiseFab kit, and like, look up how much this WiseFab kit is, because it is not cheap, and it has lots of adjustability in it that I don't know anything about setting up. But yeah, all billet deal there, billet lower control arm, the upper mount that puts the BC coilovers out, which that's the same guys that sponsor like Chelsea Denofa. And I can't remember what this rack is out of, but I think it might be a 240. I actually don't remember. But we did the exhaust on this thing and modified, like you can see there's a big plate right here because we didn't necessarily like how these brackets just bolted to the sheet metal. So we plated this to give the transmission mount some extra support. And everything on this car is tight. You can see a little gap there, little bitty gaps there. We did a big single 4-inch exhaust on this thing. Going back to dump just behind the rear end, and I think it sounds super, super cool. More BC coilovers back here. A wide lower control arm, because you can see it does have a wide body kit on it. I think there are spare front and rear bumpers, either at Ryan's house or in the trailer. Probably should have looked before I moved the trailer back. But all of the, I think these are power steering lines here. And the fuel lines run through a tube. That's like a 2.5-inch piece of exhaust tubing that runs through the entire interior and then comes out in the engine bay. So it's somewhere up in there, but it's basically protecting all of the fuel lines and I believe the AccuSump line as it goes through the entire chassis. So the lines kind of run through the passenger compartment, except that they are inside of this tube, so that there is you know, no chance of it like getting into the like a fuel leak is gonna dump outside of the passenger compartment. So roll cage sticks through the floor in 4 spots, so that they're nice little jack points. Kind of the plates weld here. Actually, I think these are just little spuds that we welded to the bottom of the roll cage plate. That's not the actual roll cage. It's just a little piece that welds to the bottom of it. But got a little more time to service the fluids in this thing, and then we'll go out for a test drive. I do remember we had some trickeries we did with the axles too. I think we put larger bolts in here because these are aftermarket big horsepower axles, and I think we blew the bolts out of one end, and so we put Nordlock washers on it, as well as upsized the bolt, like we drilled and tapped this hub or the outer hub to put larger bolts in there to stop from breaking them. But yeah, let's get this thing serviced. All the fluids changed, even the coolant. Like, we're gonna change the coolant. I already changed the oil. Gonna change the transmission fluid, diff fluid. Well, we've drained the oil, so we're gonna top her off with some Mobil 1 1550. Good competition oil. And then it'll be time to go for a test drive. All right, well, we got the diff and the trans fluid changed, bled the brakes. CJ's retorquing the wheels, which probably could do that once we put it back on the ground. The front ones you'll have to do when we put it on the ground.
Oh, you can hold it in place?
They'll spin a little bit, but just the more I look over this thing, I just forget all the little tricks we did to this thing. Had to custom make this little bracket for the lower alternator tensioner. We did this extra bracing on the engine mounts because the factory swap mounts stuck. You can see how far it hung out over the frame, and I didn't like that. So we kind of made these supports to just give the motor mount some extra triangulation and support there. It's got a really nice drive shaft loop tucked up in there right at the front of the drive shaft. Really overdone PST 3-inch steel drive shaft. We did all of the brake lines in this car. We kind of just warmed over the whole car. Obviously, it's got a lot of roll cage in it. Got some nice seats. All the extra stuff to make this a really, really good I would say mid-level drift car, competition drift car. Like it's legal for quite a bit as far as the stock chassis go, because it still has all the stock chassis. All the suspension stuff is bolt-on. So for anybody looking to build something like this, in today's pricing with the engine, transmission, all the suspension, and not only do you get the car, if you were to buy this, you get the trailer with all the spares. So there's trailer, there's a tent, floor jacks, I think like 10 spare wheels. Like there's a bunch of wheels in there. I don't know, I didn't count them all, but there's a bunch of wheels. But to duplicate this in today's money, be every bit of 80, 90 grand. Between the car purchase, this car only had, like Ryan bought this car new, and it only had 10,000 miles on it or so when we did the LS swap and the competition conversion. But the cage work, the engine, the transmission, the Holley EFI system, the fuel cell, I mean, that's a $2,500 fuel cell, $3,000 fuel cell with the bladder, the internal bladder, the AccuSump system, all of the AN plumbing. Like you would disappear $80,000 like that, probably up over 90 depending on how much of the work you did yourself. Now we did all the cage work, the engine mounting. Ryan did a bunch of the suspension bolt-on stuff. Obviously we did all the exhaust fabrication, the fuel system, the seat mounting. It's got Lexan windows in the back half of it. The hood vents, all kinds of stuff we did to this car along its build. But you guys don't want to hear about all that unless you're interested in buying it, which we'll, we've got all kinds of information for anybody that is interested in buying it. I believe, in my mind, this thing's worth 50 grand. Like as a complete package, it's worth 50 grand all day of the week, every day. I think that's about the range Ryan's looking to get for it. Maybe a little bit of wiggle room on the price, but I think that's what we're looking at for this thing. So for anybody looking, and you're in the beginning process of building a really good car, maybe take a look at this thing. Just buying it instead of taking, you know, a year to build one or 6 months to build one or however much time it's going to take you to build one. You can literally show up with a check, take this thing to the track. Trailer, race car, runs on pump gas, still plenty streetable. In fact, Ryan's got a tag on it. It's out of date though. But yeah, let's go for a test drive. I've talked about it enough. All right, hopefully that stays put. All right, let's warm this thing up.
You want me to wait until it's warm?
Well, I figure we'll drive it around.
Okay.
Just do a little, because it's kind of warm the drive line up and stuff too.
Yeah.
Man, the electric power steering works so good in this thing. Not bad for having sat in the trailer for forever.
Yeah.
All that run around is 173 degrees.
Street car.
Yeah. I mean, it drives so good. All right, well, there's our sales pitch for Ryan's Scion FRS Toyota BRZ. I don't know what it is. Could probably look at the title and stuff, but even left you some of the spare tires. And actually, I'll show you what's some of the stuff that's included for the spares in the trailer before we sign off of this thing. But yeah, that's a fun car. Like, no, Kevin, don't buy it. No, don't buy it, Kevin. All right, so tints. There's 4 tires, which I think all of those have wheels. I don't know. The 2 end ones do. Another 4. Another 4. So there's 12. We got 2 spare trailer tires. A set of tint. Oh gosh, there's even more wheels and tires. Yeah, so lots and lots and lots of spares when it comes to running this thing. And it's just a great, proven little package. And it's a heck of a lot of fun. Like, you just saw us go out and have a little fun in the industrial park. And that's what it's all about, having fun. So thank you everybody for watching. See you guys next time.